Burks on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin." Marin County's A-OK, from Tam to Stinson all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. The Dennis, Dylan, and NWA.
This is the Run TMC Podcast. That is the Run the Marin County Podcast, a podcast about basketball in the great county of Marin. And I am Duffy Ballard, and with me, as always, is Dave Levine, who is just so excited he can't quite contain himself because we are about to start season 2. Dave.
Duffy, you sounded like a politician there. The great county of Marin. It's that time of year. It's that time of.
It is.
It's an election
year.
We're
a month away. We're less than a month away, Dave. And so, if you want to know some vital stats on Marin County, we have in Marin County the longest longevity in the state for women, and I believe for men we're about second or third. So people just live a long time here in Marin. That means they can start listening to the Run TMC podcast when they're in their 40s and still be listening in their 90s. We have that much content.
Absolutely. And, we'll be on season 38 before you know it.
We'll be on.
Right. Exactly. Very, very excited to start season 2. Duffy, it's been really fun doing this with you. Thanks to all of our listeners and supporters. And we're excited to bring you some more great content. We've already, as we talked about, logged a number of interviews for this season. They're great. This one in particular is amazing. That is in this episode. But before we get to it, and we will be brief, as we always remind ourselves to be, Duffy, we have a few quick things to get to before the interview. Correct?
Right. Well, yeah, we talked in the preview, Dave, about a new segment, recurring segment, Dishing Dimes, where we're going to be giving out life advice. I have one, but I'm not going to share it. I'm going to save it. Instead, we're going to initiate for season 2, episode 1. We're going to bring back the glossary, which is going to be fun. And then we're going to have a little player control as well, but that will come after we do the bio for our guest. So let's get into the glossary. This is a term that if you've been watching basketball, especially NBA basketball, it gets dropped a lot from announcers and from people commenting on the game, and that is drop coverage. So, Dave, we've talked about different ways to handle an on-ball screen. So we've talked about hedging, we've talked about hard hedging, we've talked about blitzing the ball screen, we've talked about switching it. Drop coverage is a very popular way to play ball screens. I will say it's the way that through most of my pickup career, I've played ball screens. And essentially it is, if you are defending the screener, what you're going to do is take a few steps back and drop into the coverage. And the on-ball defender, they have 2 primary goals. Number 1 is to not let the ball handler reject the screen. That is to go the opposite direction of where the screen is being set. And by the way, I'm going to throw in another quick sort of ball screen terminology, and that is cracking it. Have you heard that before, Dave? In terms of how you want to set a ball screen. What's the angle of the ball screen?
Go ahead.
Cracking it means to use your butt crack as the angle. So you want to align your butt crack so that you can kind of show the ball handler which way to go. Anyway, that's cracking it. You're going to bonus glossary term this morning, Dave. But with the drop coverage, so number 1, the defender on ball does not want to allow the screen to be rejected. So does not want to allow the ball handler to fake towards the going to the screen and then go the other way because there's not going to be any help there. They want to force the use of the screen, and then they want to try and fight over the top of it. So if this guy's a shooter and wants to come off the screen and shoot a 3, that they can be there to contest, even if it's from behind, to hassle the shot. So this is happening, and then the defender of the screener is dropping back. So if the screen's occurring at the free throw line, they're dropping down to at the 3-point line, Dave. If the screen's happening at the 3-point line, the defender is dropping to the free throw line into drop coverage so that they can be prepared for the drive. So they don't want to give up the three and they don't want to give up the layup or the paint touch. But what they will give up is coming off that screen into long 2-point shot range and allowing that long two, which of course all the analytics say, unless it's DeMar DeRozan, you just give up that shot. So that's
an inefficient
drop coverage. Yeah.
It's an inefficient shot from an analytics perspective. So teams today, obviously they want threes or layups. Drop coverage takes away the layup, gives the on-ball defender more liberty to be aggressive and fight over the screen to defend against the three. And yeah, you pick your poison, you give up the mid-range shot. So very, very common coverage. NBA, I was just watching the Warriors and Kings the other night, 1 or 2 nights ago, in an exhibition game. NBA season starts, I think, late October, a week or two away. Watch the NBA and you'll see drop coverage almost every possession, right? Because there are ball screens up on the high slots, and the screeners, defenders are often dropped back into the paint to protect.
And where it kind of breaks down, and this is where the Mavericks had trouble with the Celtics, is if you have ball screeners who are bigs, who are also pretty good three-point shooters and pretty good at popping out, that is where it can break down. And the Mavs had a hard time with the Celtics, with that action.
So the other thing you see teams do is they will look like they're setting a ball screen, but then we've talked in the past about ghost screens or blur screens, right? So if you're a big man, you're guarding your player holds up his fist, he looks like he's going to set a screen, you get into drop coverage, and then instead of setting the screen, that player blurs it or ghosts it and sprints to the 3-point line. Now you're out of position to defend against that three. So same idea, Duff, as the pick and pop, but that's another common action that we're seeing really even into the high school. I mean, over the summer league and through club basketball, we see a ton of blur ghost actions right now, and it's really working. It even worked against us, Duffy, in our adult league game the other night.
I wasn't sure if you felt that you had the emotional fortitude to bring that up, Dave, but yes, it did. We were playing against a team, very young, very fast, very skilled players, including our friend Tyler Gaffney, and another player Donovan Vickers, I guess his name is, Dave, who is an active B2 player. Anyway, yeah, they were skilled, they were fast, they were blurring through, and exceptionally hard to guard them.
Yep. All right, well, very good glossary term to kick off season 2. Drop coverage, very common concept, and hopefully our listeners now understand what the announcers are talking about or coaches are talking about when they hear about drop coverage. So good one, Duff.
And someday, Dave, we're going to have a YouTube channel and we're going to have a whiteboard and we're going to be like JJ and we'll be like, we'll be showing you clips. And anyway, someday in the future, you'll be able to visualize this as we talk about it. But hopefully we were so clear in our verbal description that you can see it in your mind's eye.
That's right.
Yep.
Okay, moving on. Did you have a bonus glossary that's related to our interview today, Duffy?
I did, but you know what I'm going to do, Dave, if you don't mind? Can you go ahead and do the bio for our guest? And then
sure.
His bio informs my bonus glossary term, and I've got a player control. It's going to be quick as well.
Great. So we're very honored to have our first episode of season 2 feature our friend Michael Delosio. And I'll do a quick bio on Michael. So he grew up in Bolinas in West Marin. He started his high school career at Santa Rosa High School. He then transferred to Drake. And by the way, Michael was, I think, class of 84 from Drake. He transferred to Drake because he went to pirate camp over the summers, met Pete Hayward, met Cap Lavin, and wanted to play for Drake. He then played college basketball at USF, and Michael goes into detail about his path, but played at USF for Jim Bravelli for a couple years. He then took a chance and tried to walk on at Indiana University and play for one of the most iconic coaches, not only in basketball history, but really in American sports history in Bob Knight. And to, give away the end, Michael Delosio, Duffy, he made the team. And it's an incredible story. He played for Indiana, He then played pro ball in Italy for a number of years and then came back to the Bay Area. And for the last 20 years, he's been a community college counselor, teacher, and mentor. Just my one anecdotal comment, Duffy, is so here we are, season 2. We had 38 episodes in season 1. We had our special 39th episode with Brock and Mike Turner, which was great. So this is our 40th episode. We've interviewed, I don't know, something around 30-ish people. Every interview that we've done, and I say this honestly, we turn off the microphones and I think to myself, man, that was awesome. Like I learned something. It was fun. It was interesting. Every interview has been great. This one, I got back in my car after we said goodbye to Michael, and I just said to myself, holy crap. Like that was an incredible story. And it was probably the most, as you said, Duffy, the most compelling storytelling of any episode we've done. I highly recommend that our listeners check this out, listen to the story. It's about a lot more than just walking on and making a team. It's about overcoming adversity and hard work and determination. And I love this interview and I'm really excited to share it. So that's what I got.
Yeah. That was more editorial than anecdotal, but I'll give it to you, Dave. I would, just to add on, I'd say that afterwards, Mike said he thanked us for allowing him to tell the story. And he said, I really haven't ever told that story. And that shocked me because his storytelling was just so riveting. As you said, it was very compelling. And it sounded to me like a story he might have told 1,000 times. And nonetheless, yeah, it's an amazing story. And his presentation, his delivery of the story is just incredible. So I think you're really going to enjoy the story, especially when he gets into the part about going to Indiana and trying to walk on at Indiana under Bob Knight's team. So we're not going to waste too much more time before getting there, Dave, but I did want to mention and call out the fact that I have a lot of family from Indiana. My cousin Shelley played D3 basketball at DePauw in Greencastle. My father, Phil, played high school basketball in Indiana and was in the tournament that is depicted in the movie Hoosiers. And I have for you the bonus glossary term, and that is from my father. Every time we'd go to visit family on the farm in Indiana, he would want to show off his ability to master the minds of the cattle that we had on the farm by going out to the fence. And he used this term, and I have no idea where he got it from, but it's soot cow. So if he wanted to call over the cattle, he'd say, soot cow, soot cow. And maybe one or two cattle would look over and amble a little bit in his direction. So I have no idea where he got that from, but I have to say, although it was interesting, it wasn't particularly effective. Sorry about that, Dad. So that's soot cow. But maybe we could try it like in other circumstances, Dave. I mean, if you really want to get your team, together, if they're not paying attention, you want them to circle up, that would probably throw something at them that they'd never heard before.
Don't be surprised if our, one of our offensive sets at San Domenico this year is called Soot Cow. Maybe that's our out of bounds play.
That'd be beautiful. Okay. Quick player control for me. Do you have a player control?
No, I'm perfect. You go.
So this is a preemptive player control, and it's really on behalf of Kenya, our podcast dog. This was very interesting to me. Kenya was sort of trained early on as a guide dog, and then she became a guide dog breeder, but she did get some guide dog training early on as a puppy, not by us, but by people who know what they're doing. Anyway, Mike was telling a story, and you'll hear the story, but it involved him taking a charge, and it involved him getting an elbow to the chest, so a violent charge. And as he was telling this story, you could tell that Mike was getting like a little bit emotional, remembering the story. Kenya, who was sitting way over by the pool, came over and started pawing at him and disrupting the interview. So although I think her instincts were in the right spot, player control on Kenya because she got in the middle of that story. So there you go.
I didn't even notice. I think Kenya also might have farted when I was telling my emotional intro to Mike. So Kenya, double foul, but we love you, Kenya.
Yeah. All right. Well, you're going to really enjoy this interview. Fair warning, we are taking a little short break in the middle of it. but the short break will be worth it. It's going to be a cliffhanger moment, Dave, and then we're going to come back for the end of the story. So stick with it. Go all the way through on this one. Set aside some time to really enjoy it.
Yep. Here goes Michael Delosio. Thanks.
Thanks.
All right. We're going. Michael Delosio. Nice to see you.
Really nice to be with both of you. Thank you so much for having me.
We're honored to have you, Michael. So we're sitting outside Duffy's house here. We're in a pastoral setting. This is nice.
First time ever recording outside underneath.
Oh.
I've been told this oak tree is 300 years old by an arborist.
I feel that way when I'm playing basketball. I feel like that oak tree. So, Michael, we gave your background and kind of playing history to our listeners before this. So we'll just jump right in. But I have a little preamble that you don't know about. But I'm just going to say, you've always been one of my heroes, and I'm not pandering to you. But as a kid going to Lavin camps and learning basketball, you were a coach there, and you were someone that just still to this day, I think about you as having an amazing story. The fact that you were able to work harder than everybody, achieve the dream of walking on at D1. And our listeners who are, I don't know, under the age of 30 might not appreciate how incredible it is that what you did, walking on at Indiana, playing for Bobby Knight, one of the absolute legends in basketball. But beyond that, you had this charisma about you and this combination of intellectual thoughtfulness. And so when Duffy always wants us to have like a theme for these episodes, the theme for this episode is something that I heard in Braveheart, as a dog farts and burps. In the movie Braveheart, they talk about how the Scotsmen fought like warrior poets. And so I think about you as like a warrior poet, like this combination of fierceness and effort and determination, but then also intellectual, thoughtful, funny, charismatic. So the warrior poet, that's our theme for this, Michael.
Wow, you guys. Well, thank you so much. I'm just digesting that, Dave. That's so beautiful and makes me feel a little emotional to hear that. We don't always know in our lives what effect we have on people or how people see us. And I was joking with Dave when we met walking up here, Duffy, that I was like, oh my God, I hope I didn't go Bobby Knight on Duffy at the Lavin camp. I hope I didn't piss him off or something, and he has a bad flashback when he sees me. So to hear, your perspective of me, and I feel that way about so many folks, you guys, that touch my life as I grew up, and they modeled things for me that helped push me through things that other people would say, hey, that's too big an obstacle. You can't get over that. What are you thinking? This is a little crazy. Are you a martyr? Why are you doing this thing?
Right.
But I had seen other folks in our community, certainly at Drake, who had done things like that. So it's neat to, sense that. And I know Dave Deneen too.
Yeah.
I loved hearing his interview and him talking about, walking on a Cal Poly and getting to play at USF at Memorial Gym where his father went to school. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And what a big moment that was in his life. And I think, I'm not taking credit for that at all, but it's all of us that went after some big goals.
You had an impact.
And that's,
when I was a kid,
that's really great.
When I was a kid, seeing you, hearing you talk, and we'll get into all your Indiana stuff and all your story here, but that stuff mattered. I remember that. Like, wow, he walked on at Indiana and made it and got a roster spot and learned from Bobby Knight. Like, wow, if he can do it. Yeah, you're a little bit taller than I am, but whatever.
Right.
Okay, so to start, Michael, your post-playing career, you've been a counselor, teacher, mentor for community college students. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's discuss, just lay out some lessons you learned from your basketball days that have informed your kind of career as a counselor and mentor. Some of those lessons learned.
For sure. So to kind of pull the lens back a little bit, I was playing basketball in Italy. It was 1999. I was 33, going 99-2000 season. I was like, God, if I keep doing this, I'm just going to stay in Italy.
Yeah.
But my real calling, I started to feel like, was I wanted to work with youth. I wanted to give back the way to young people, the way that some of my counselors and mentors and coaches had done for me. So it was a really pivotal moment. Like, do I stay in Italy, La Dolce Vita? Do I keep, wine and pasta and traveling and playing ball, which just seems like a dream?
Yeah.
But my heart was like, I can't keep doing this, man. I've been living in a locker room for most of my life, and it's time to give back. And so I stopped playing. I came back home. I was living with my grandma in San Mateo. Within 3 months, I had a job at Skyline College, and I just loved it.
Great.
I was a counselor and instructor, and I was working with, community college students come from pretty rough backgrounds. They have amazing stories of things that they've overcome.
Yeah.
And I just was like, this is an honor. This is where I need to be. I wasn't sure about basketball. I was like, am I going to want to coach, or, how am I going to incorporate that aspect of my life? And so I've worked for 25 years in community college, 15 at Chabot College in the East Bay, and I love that. And now at City College of San Francisco.
Great.
But really, you guys, to be honest, the reason I got into counseling, mentoring, teaching, and working with mostly at-risk youth was my background. I grew up in a family that was kind of chaotic. It was like a torn household. There was divorce when I was 3. We moved out to Bolinas, which was great to be out there in the 70s, but also single mom who had a lot of mental health issues trying to raise us. And my brother and I went through a lot. We saw a lot of things we should have never seen. It definitely, some deep wounds. And basketball was my salve. Basketball was my temple. This is where I found myself and where I found family and community. And I felt at 33 in Italy, like, I can't do this. I can't keep playing. I got to come home. And as soon as I came back and started working at Skyline College in San Bruno, I was like, this is where I need to be, and it's been that way ever since. I had never gone like, wow. I pinch myself, like, in times in classrooms, I get to be with students who are just opening up and sharing some of the deepest things in their lives. And then getting to see them 4 years later at UC Berkeley,
right?
First generation college student who's got a scholarship, or, some dude that got out of the Army who was struggling with basic math, and then is an astrophysicist at San Jose State. It's like crazy stories like that. So that's what called me to the work of counseling. And I wanted to mentor because guys like Cap Lavin, that was my mentor. So he's a key figure in me getting to University of San Francisco, making it to Indiana University.
Yeah.
I put a lot of credit for Cap reaching out to me, connecting with me. He was the first male figure in my life that really showed much attention and cared about me. I was dyslexic. I was a 2.0 student. I was struggling. I didn't see myself as being able to even go to college. I was like, I'm not sure I can handle. I'm Cap, I'm failing your English class right now. Right. He gave me a C+ or whatever, but I wasn't doing well. And so those kind of figures like Cap taught me the way I could be as a teacher, but also as a man in this world. Because Cap he was kind of a Renaissance guy.
Absolutely.
He had that fierce love, but he had the tenderness and, Go ahead.
How did you recall? How did he connect with you? Was it over English? Was it reading? Was it just interpersonal? Was it basketball? I'm sure he probably mixed in a bunch of all of those.
Yes. So Duffy, I didn't come down to Drake High School in 1983 until I was a senior. I'd left Santa Rosa. I was trying this pilot project of living with my father for a few years, and it just wasn't working out. My mom was living in San Anselmo, so I came down for a basketball camp, the Drake Pirates basketball camp. Of course, man, we all knew 82 state champions, like it was in the air. I was like, God, I want to check, I want to go to the pirate camp. And I come down and, the basketball gods were good to me. And Cap Lavin is my basketball coach at the pirate camp. And I had never had so much fun playing basketball. Cap was such a character. He had so many stories. He would laugh. Sometimes he'd get emotional talking about the kids, the peers he grew up with in the avenues in San Francisco. He played at University of San Francisco, Hall of Fame player, incredible high school player at St. Ignatius. And so Cap saw something in me. I didn't see it in me. And I remember Cap telling me at the end of the camp, and I remember we lost the championship game, and I just felt like such a failure. How could I let down Cap,
Yeah.
And he said, I see a really bright future for you. I see something in you. And I said, wow. I said, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm going to move with my mom, he's like, I don't care what you do, but I see you going on, and maybe, Cap would use these big terms like Rhodes Scholar.
Right.
I was like, Rhodes Scholar? Cap, I'm not making out of my junior year. I don't know if they're going to even take me at Drake academically.
Yeah.
But he saw, and that's what mentors do. they see something in us, and that starts to grow inside of us. And so that's how I met Cap. The story was, I thought Cap was going to be the head coach at Drake. I knew Cap wasn't the head coach at Drake.
Right.
I got to meet Pete Hayward. I love Pete Hayward. He was so grounded and real and authentic. And so I moved down here, you all, to play, to live with my mom and then to play basketball. I didn't get paid. I wasn't driving some car or anything.
No NIL money back then.
No.
So just for our listeners, I think most people know who Cap Lavin is. But so we mentioned Steve Lavin a lot, Cap, Steve's dad. Cap was an incredible player. Yeah, you said it, played at USF, played with Casey Jones and Bill Russell and these guys. And then also an amazing teacher at Drake for many, many years. One of the greatest pickup basketball players. We talk about pickup basketball. We're going to talk about that. I mean, a legend on the courts, outdoor courts of San Francisco.
Yes.
Just a brilliant, wonderful human. Had a huge impact on me, a huge impact on Duffy, and love that story about how he saw something in you.
Yeah,
that does not surprise me. So let's go back quickly before high school. So when you were younger, are you playing basketball?
So during these years in Bolinas, when it was really chaotic, my home wasn't safe, I took to basketball, you all, because I didn't have to have anyone to play with, and I didn't even have to have a hoop.
Right.
So when I was 6 and 7, I would dribble from the Mesa down to the school by the lagoon. I would just dribble the basketball all the way down, because it was therapy for me, It was such an instinct. It's this primal thing of like, what is going to make me feel safe? What makes me feel good about myself? So that's where basketball started. I still played every sport. I had the best teachers at Bolinas. I was so lucky. Many of them were like father and mother figures for me as I grew up, but that's where basketball started.
So when you get to Drake, and I love that. Yeah, go ahead.
Important question.
Please.
Dribbling around town. Were you alternating between right and left? Did you have your dribble goggles on so you weren't looking down?
I wasn't doing that until today, Duffy. I wish I listened because my left is bad. Yep, I never developed the left, so I was not alternating.
Michael, let's be honest, you're a shooter.
That's right, and I didn't have to dribble.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so talk about playing for Pete Hayward. So you come to Drake, legendary program already, right? State defending the one state title in '82. Yep. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this podcast.
Yeah,
the greatest team in Marin history. I think Chris Fulton told me they were 92-3 over his 2 or 3 years, something like that. Just something ridiculous.
That's right.
So what was it like for you to enter that program and play for a guy like Pete?
I was super intimidated to come into that program, knowing the history of that program. I had been at another program where there wasn't one player, I don't believe, they have to fact check this, that played college basketball or went to play in community college. And playing at Santa Rosa Junior College back in the 80s and 90s was tough. You heard Deneen talking about playing at SRJC, how tough it was there. So to come to Drake, and there were so many players. When I got there, Kennelvort was already at Santa Clara.
Yeah, Steve Kennelvort, great player.
Steve Kennelvort.
Yeah.
Chris Fulton was playing at Portland, I think.
Yep.
Dan Hunt was playing at Portland.
Yeah.
And you can go on and on. Bucky's playing, in the years before, Bucky and Eddie Joe and, Spencer and on and on.
Jim Saya.
Right. Mike Saya.
Yeah.
I was just, so to me, it was, okay, this is where this can happen. Because that kid who's dribbling a ball at 7 in Bolinas, I already knew, like, I've got to make it out of here. And this is my ticket. This is how I want to go. I knew I wanted to go to college. I wanted to be in that college atmosphere, to play and, be a student. And so that was happening at Drake.
How big were you your senior year at Drake? How tall were you?
I was 6'4".
Okay.
Yeah. I'm 5'11" now, but
exactly. You're hunched over. So what were you playing in the post, or were you on the perimeter?
I was playing 3. What I loved about Coach Hayward was
flex offense.
Flex. Yeah, he did some flex, but I would say mostly it was a lot of motion.
Yeah.
Ironically, he would be like, let's do flex. You got to, but mostly he let people, because of these amazing players, probably kind of improvise. And so the passing and open court and cutting was a part of that. So I played 3 and 2, and that was good as a 6'4" guy. Sometimes in high school in the 80s, you were a center. Right. And he didn't make me play a center. Coach Hayward loved shooting. He just loved shooters.
Yes, he did.
He was a shooter. And he loved, remember how he taught shooting?
Oh, I still remember.
His eyes would sparkle. And so he wanted to make sure I could get my shot off, so he let me play outside. Of course, there was no 3-point shot back then.
We want to get to that. I mean, it's funny you say that. We loved our conversation with Mike, Saya, and Ashley last year, and Mike talked about that people would say like, man, your Drake teams really could shoot. He's like, yeah, because we shot a lot.
Yeah.
Like in practice,
That's right.
A lot of the practices,
Yeah.
you're working on shooting.
Yeah.
Right. Which, I think that's something that honestly coaches sometimes neglect. They think it's sort of obvious that kids can shoot.
Right.
You want to work on your sets and stuff. Go ahead, Duff.
Well, yeah. So digging into that a little bit, was it just repetition on shooting, or was there a lot of coaching of shooting technique?
Yeah, there was a little bit of both. I think the mechanics of shooting, he would show me. And then, of course, there was a focus on that. So this is important, you all. We got to make baskets to win. And that was something that was baked into the culture, of course, by the time I got there. But what Coach Hayward had for me, and I think every era has talked about him differently. If you listen to Bucky or Eddie Joe in the 70s and Spencer, like there's a different Coach Hayward now than when I got there. Right. He's already won Tournament of Champions and state championships and stuff. So I think Coach Hayward had gotten a lot of his goals. So what I loved about him was he walked his talk. He was just who he was. He exuded excellence. He expected excellence. Yeah. He wasn't a yeller, though I've heard from others that he yelled a lot. I don't ever remember that. Once he benched me and gave me the choke sign, that I had choked, and he was famous for that. He let the whole crowd see, hey, you're choking right now.
Yeah.
But, he never sought out to undermine someone's self-esteem or anything like that. And so Coach Hayward was great. And I had a pivotal moment with Coach Hayward where, I've left Santa Rosa. I'm 17 years old. I'm moving back in with my mom.
Yeah.
And, you can imagine a 17-year-old moving to another high school. I've left all my friends and everything. I am so disoriented, you all. The first couple of weeks of practice, I can't make a layup. I just suck. And they had heard, this guy's really good. And he was good at Pirate Camp. Now they're kind of like my teammates. I could feel the rumors.
Liar's remorse.
Right. Can we send him back? And what are we going to do with this guy? And I had packed up my car. I had this beat up Datsun B210 and I had packed it up. I was going to drive back up to Santa Rosa. And I remember I didn't even tell my mom. I just packed the car. I was going to leave and I was in the parking lot of Drake. And I was like, I can't just leave Coach Hayward like that. He is just too good a person. I can't just disappear on him like that. So I go into the gym and I think he might have been the AD at that time. He's in his office. He's got all the keys,
right.
All the
I
keys
remember the big ring of keys. Yeah.
Super diligent, just lives in the gym, keeps it open, makes it possible for us to play. And I go and I'm like, Coach, I'm so sorry. I got to leave. I can't do this. It's not working out. And he doesn't try to strong arm me or come up with guilt trip or anything like that. He walks out with me and to my car and says, can you just give me 3 more weeks? Just 3 more weeks. If you want to leave, I'll do everything I can to help you leave, but you got to give me 3 more weeks. And that was just huge for someone who's such a legend like that to say that to me. It really felt like, okay, I'm not messing up. I'm not as bad as I thought I was.
He believes in me.
He believes in me.
Yeah.
I hear rumors that, aren't so good. And then for Coach to do that was big. Everything, that really changed things for me. And I started to relax a little bit and to believe in myself again.
Were you that kid in high school so your image of Pete with the keys, that brings back so much to me, but it was of legend at Drake that there would be these workouts late at night, and we'll get to this later when Lav talked about this, but were you one of those kids who wanted to work out on your own, who wanted to shoot hoops on your own? Work on your game? It seems like that's you, right?
That's kind of, and I had that at 7.
Yeah.
That's for better or worse. Sometimes I honestly hid some of my struggles and mental health issues by just being in the gym all the time and doing that. But it was a constructive way to go. And so, yes, I lived and breathed that at Drake. It really came out when I graduated from Drake and I met Steve Lavin. That's when Lavin helped me turn up the workouts and the focus and effort to 110%. We were running marathons. He had me running so much.
Yeah.
I mean, we can talk about that later, but Lavin, like his father, was such a motivator. And I ended my season at Drake on a real down note. I got to play in the Oakland Coliseum, which as a kid, I always wanted to play in the Oakland Coliseum, but I laid a huge goose egg. And Cap Lavin, was using humor, like, get over yourself. Don't take it so seriously. Okay, everyone has a bad game. You're not that important, which was cool. But for me as a 17-year-old,
not about you, as Honig would say.
That's right.
An actual goose egg or metaphorical goose egg?
Well, it felt like an actual, but it was, yes. I think I had like 7 points, probably 4 turnovers. It wasn't the Steve Kenilvort 35 points, 16 rebounds in the state championship. And so I was, hoping to get offers. I was getting letters, but that goose egg, that was it. There weren't D1 teams that were going to touch me after that. And so I went into my own comatose state. I was like, what am I going to do? And then I met Steve Lavin was playing at SF State, and I met him at the pirate camp when I met his father.
Yeah.
And he was home for the summer. And he was like, let's start working out. Now, I don't know why. He calls me and says, let's go down to the gym and work out. I don't know. I'd love to hear. I haven't thought about that in 35 years, why he did that. But he resuscitated me. I was depressed. My mom was depressed. She couldn't get out of bed. I was like, man, I'll be lucky to go to college in Marin. I don't know what I'm going to do, And he did that. And we started working out like crazy. That's where we had, Cap gave us the keys to Drake Gym. And so we would work out, because they played the summer league and they had events going on there. So we had it from 11 to 3 in the morning. So we would go in there and practice, and Lav had all the schemes going. We're going to do the, layup drill full court. We're going to do shuffle slides. We're going to be diving on the floor. He had us doing everything from 11 to 3.
Yeah. Lav was a coach.
So Lav was a player coach already. Yep. At SF State as a player there. He already had that mentality. He knew he was going to go into coaching. So it may have been, subconscious at that time when he's 21 or whatever, I'm 18, but it was already happening with me. I was becoming one of his projects, he would tell me, hey, do you want to go to the Olympics? I'm I'm trying to get on to college of Marin. I ain't going to the Olympics.
Road scholar.
Road scholar. Yeah. So he set the bar at a place where I had trouble imagining that on my own. But because he said it, that's how I got to University of San Francisco. That's how I got to Indiana University. That's how I got to play professionally in Italy.
I'm going to hit on this. I was going to hit on this later, but let's hit on it now. So at Lavin camps, we're going to fast forward. There was a thing called early birds Lavin camps, sleepaway camps in Pacific Union College in England. And you're basically basketball 24/7. But, I think we had breakfasts, 7:38 in the morning, but they would give campers the option of early birds. So at 6 a.m.,
right,
Lav would go walk down the hill, the campus, open up the gym, and anyone who wanted to get some extra work in could. And I remember both as a player and as a coach, I would always go to early birds, and I never beat you in the gym because you would be down there and we would walk in at 6 a.m. and you'd already be sweating your ass off, just working tirelessly. And so there's one thing for kids who are listening to go to the gym and work out and shoot hoops. You didn't just go shoot hoops. You worked out with a sense of urgency and a passion, and you got the most out of your workouts. And that stuck with me. It's not like he's just down there shooting free throws at 6 a.m. Right. You were absolutely dripping sweat.
And those were, so Dave, so at that time in the Lavin camp, I was probably 20, 21, 22 when the Lavin camps took off. And it was so much fun to be with all the counselors and coaches up there. The guys from Nevada, Las Vegas, Bud Presley, Gergovich. I mean, John Moore.
Yeah.
There were so many, Pat Sandel, Spencer, all these guys. What a hub. And what's funny, Dave, is that, I was there at 6, but I had been up probably till 4 a.m. talking ball. Because
Lav would get to that. That was another amazing.
Lav would invite in some amazing coach that would host a talk that evening, and we would be up till 3 or 4 in the morning breaking down basketball, but then I would be in the gym. So Steve Lavin helped me with all those drills. So he kind of showed me like, this is next level. Hey, you want to play Division I? This is what you do. So I was already at University of San Francisco and I was doing that.
Yeah.
And I was surprised when I was at University of San Francisco, Lav had prepared me so well that I was actually kind of doing more after practice sometimes than, it wasn't necessarily the culture there. And I was like, whoa, I don't want to, I'm getting ahead of myself, but.
No, let's go there. So you're a good player at Drake, clearly. You're getting letters from schools. So how do you land at USF, and what was your recruiting process like? What other schools were you looking at?
So why there wasn't much of a recruiting process after that last game in Oakland Coliseum in my high school. But I meet Lavin, we start working out, and I get to play for Hilda, so for Larry Fulton's team
in the Drake Summer League.
And this is like the Hoosiers of San Anselmo, Fairfax, right? The Sayas, the Fultons, the Chivas, like all of these families, these amazing multi-generational impact on basketball. And Mr. Fulton says, again, he's one of those guys like, I think you can be good. Why don't you play on my team? But, he's got 4 Division I players on his team, Brian Shaw, I don't know, on and on and on. And I'm a 10th man on his team when we start the season. I'm just lucky to have a uniform and sit on the bench. And when I go to so this is the famous Drake Summer League, which you guys have talked about.
Yes.
We have pro-am players here and college players and Kevin John, just amazing, Gary Payton, just amazing players. And I remember Cap tells me, hey, when you get on the court and you start doing layups, just notice how tall you are. Notice your gifts. And I was like, everyone's 6'10", Cap. Guys are dunking everywhere.
Cap, I don't feel very gifted.
Yeah, I wasn't feeling that great. But slowly, because we were practicing from 11 to 2 or 3 every morning, Lavin and I started getting my self-esteem back. And Larry Fulton started putting me in the game.
Yeah.
And I had trouble missing. I was so locked in. And because Steve Lavin and Cap and those people before me instilled all that self-esteem, I was like, nails. Because I'm shooting for 4 hours. I'm shooting every night.
Yeah.
I get up the next day and we're going to Summer League. I've already played 4 hours, you guys. There is no way I am not going to play well in this game. Coach Pervelli, who was transitioning as the coach from University of San Diego to University of San Francisco, was in the stands and saw me play. And that's how I get it, you guys, because I could have easily, and so many stories are like this, I could have easily went to Santa Rosa Community College and maybe not played, because those, like Dave Deneen has said, those players, the players at community college are so tough and athletic, and they're all fighting for their lives. But because of this, opportunity, I get to go to the University of San Francisco.
So you're on the hot streak. You're hitting all sorts of shots. Are you creating off the dribble? Are you open because of your teammates? What does that look like when you're hitting? When Michael's on fire, is it like pull-ups? Is it catch and shoot combination?
I was a real keep it simple. I was a real catch and shoot. Don't over dribble. Don't show your weaknesses.
Definitely not dribbling with his left hand.
Yeah, it was right. So it was really catch and shoot coming off of screens, but also a tenacity on defense. So I wasn't a very good defender in my senior year, but again, Lav was all about defense. And so I was picking up guys full court, which transitioned when I got to University of San Francisco and I'm playing against a Kevin Johnson or the great players from Pepperdine and Loyola. Like I could hold my own. Kevin Johnson's so much better than I would ever be, but I could hold my own against players of that level.
And you were in shape.
And I was
in shape,
right?
What's that?
If you're holding his jersey, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. But so USF was basketball had gone away for a while, right?
That's right.
And they were bringing it back. Brevelli, by the way, we had obviously Michelle Brevelli, Jim's daughter, on. Mike Brevelli's a great friend of ours. He's a listener as well.
Yeah.
Just an amazing, like one of the, kind of classic Marin basketball families and legacies. But so Jim brings basketball back to USF and you're part of that. So what was that like for you?
That was being
part of that program.
A dream. It was incredible. So he's bringing it back in 84. There are no scholarships. It's a dead program. 85, 86 is going to be the first year. So he invites me. I don't have a scholarship, but he says, hey, again, I see something in you.
Yeah.
Why don't I can't promise you a scholarship, but if you'll work really hard and do these things, there's an opportunity. And I was just like, oh my God, it was destiny. Like Cap Lavin played there.
Yeah.
It's not that far from home. It had this storied history of basketball. Obviously,
Absolutely.
Bill Russell and Casey Jones in the 50s, but the 70s, they were probably a top 10 team.
Sure.
Amazing players there.
Cartwright, John Burrow.
Yeah, there's some legends there too. So I was just, to be able to do that was just a dream come true. I couldn't believe it. And I worked super hard there. And Coach Brevelli always rewarded me for how hard I worked. There was no favoritism. You're going to work hard. You don't have a scholarship. I don't care. I'm going to play you. And so my first year, he started me. We were in big games, and he recruited some big name players back then from the Bay Area because USF's coming back. And so he had some high school All-Americans, and I always respected him for not starting a high school All-American over me if he felt in practice
that you earned it.
that I earned it.
So you scored. This is where the internet's wonderful, Michael. So we could look it up. You scored around, I don't know, 7 to 8 a game at USF.
Yep.
So looks like you're starting. You're having a good experience there. So what leads you to chase the dream and go to Indiana?
So my freshman year, I have a really good breakout year. And what happened then? So I have my freshman year, breakout year. Everything's going well. I go into my sophomore year, and I'm coming off. So Coach Bravelli comes up with this idea that, hey, you're a sixth man, and the 3-point shot's coming in.
Yeah.
And he was a shooter like Coach Hayward. He loved shooting. So he's like, you're going to be our marksman,
Yeah.
You're coming off the bench. I was like, okay, fine. He goes, you're still going to play 30. I was pissy about it. Like, oh, come on, coach.
Yeah.
I don't want to, this is killing me, man. And he goes, you're still probably going to play more than you're going to end the game and play. So young people at that age, everything's so melodramatic. So he had me coming off the bench. My sophomore year was good. I just had this craving to move on to a bigger level. I wanted to expand, and learn more about basketball. And this is where, of course, Steve Lavin comes back in. I thought I was going to go to UC Berkeley. So I wanted to play in the Pac-10.
Is that Lou Campanella?
Yeah. So Lou another Italiano. So I'm going to go there. He offers me a scholarship. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to play in the Pac-10. Yeah. And I'm just starting to come into my own. And the 3-point shot makes me more special than I would be without it. And then for whatever reason, he recruits somebody else. The scholarship falls through.
Okay.
I've already told USF I'm leaving. I don't have a scholarship there anymore. Wow. I'm like, holy
Yeah.
Then I was going to go to Harvard. We had played Harvard in the Christmas Classic, and I really liked the coach, and he invited me to go there. And I was a theology major at University of San Francisco. I was like, wow, it'd be great to be in the divinity school.
Yeah.
My application was late. Harvard doesn't break rules for athletes. So that was ended. And Lav calls me and says, you're going to Indiana. They just won the national championship. I was like, Lav, we're not going to Indiana. You can do it. You can go to Indiana. That's where you belong. I know Knight's going to see this in you. It took me a while. Then I read Season on the Brink by Feinstein. I don't know if you guys,
books.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
Incredible.
But you read that book and it's got to incite a little terror in you to think about playing there.
Yeah. Parents, if you read that book, you won't want your kid to play for Bob. We want to talk about this.
And that book was, modest in the way it was presented. Yeah. And Feinstein has always said that, the author is like, I cut a lot out there. So I ironically, the program that really attracted me to walk on was Purdue basketball. I loved Gene Katie. I would just see his image on TV, the way he ranted and raved up the sidelines and stuff. He was passionate, but loving, so loyal to his players. So I was like, Lav, what about Purdue? And that wasn't on Lavin's map yet.
So Lav obviously goes on to be an assistant coach there. So this was before that happened.
This is before that happened. Yeah. And so I don't have anywhere else to go, you guys. So I get a one-way plane ticket to Bloomington, to Indianapolis. I have a duffel bag. I have no money. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going for it. I have one connection. Lav had a friend who happened to know Cap Lavin had a friend who knew Coach Knight, which isn't going to mean crap, because when I got there, I found out that Dan Quayle, the vice president's nephew, was trying to get on the team, and they didn't care. Coach Knight doesn't roll like that.
Yep.
So I get to Bloomington. I'm in my dorm, and I'm playing in the field house. So you guys, the field house is this gym on campus where all these great high school basketball players who are like Hoosier, mystique, didn't go to college, but still want to kick your butt. And there's 20 full courts on the ground level. 20 full courts are going at the same time. On the second level are 3 full courts. And if you, on Saturdays and Sundays, you start at 7. And if you're good enough, by 4 or 5 at night, you get up onto the 3 courts up top, where usually there's ex-Indiana players playing there.
Okay.
And that's what I got to. So that's where I started. This is a longer story, you guys. You guys stop me or
I love it.
Change it in a different direction. So I don't, I can't get to Assembly Hall. I obviously don't know Coach Knight. like Deneen said in the first interview, I waited outside Coach Knight's office. He kept walking by me, wouldn't look at me. I was like, Coach Knight, I left my scholarship. I tried to create this dramatic scenario. I want to play for you. And he just walked, how many kids were doing that with him back then. And so finally, I just kept playing in the field house. I finally, by the second or third week, so now we're into September, I get up to the top floor. Because these frat teams were killers, man. They were like, I was beaten up. These guys were tough. This is Indiana basketball.
Michael, let me stop you one second. Just for the high schoolers or whatever, kids who are listening to this would be like somebody flying to Storrs, Connecticut and trying to walk on at UConn right now.
That's right.
The defending national champions, the top program, or Duke, right?
Yes,
I mean, just the storied, most elite program that everybody wants to play for, and that's what you're trying to do. Okay,
exactly.
Continue.
Thank you for saying that, because Knight, this is the time where Knight is the god of basketball. He just won the 1984 Olympics with Michael Jordan as the coach. He won in 1981 a national championship with Isaiah Thomas. 1987 with Steve Alford, Keith Smart, and Dean Garrett. He wins another national championship. He is rolling. He's the god. Our first day of practice, we had 1,500 coaches from around the country and the world watching us practice. That's the mystique and the gravitas that guy had at that point. There had never been a walk-on at Indiana basketball. So, and the assistant coach told me that. He's like, it ain't happening. If it didn't happen for Dan Quayle's nephew, it ain't happening for you. He's like, you can be a student manager, and he's like, I don't know if I can get you to be a student manager, because half the state wants to be a student manager and be involved with Indiana basketball. So that wasn't even a guarantee. But I keep playing at the field house, and the assistant coach, Ron Felling, is taking recruits into the field house, showing them, hey, look at this, this is the Indiana lore, And he sees me playing, and I introduced myself to him, and he's watching the game. And Jim Thomas, who played in the backcourt with Isaiah Thomas on the 81 national championship team, kind of took to me and liked me and heard my story and was like, hey, you got some chutzpah, man, to go come out and do this, And he thought, hey, you're not bad. He told Ron Felling, hey, take a look at this guy. I know it's kind of crazy, but just take a look at him.
So by now, are you up on the second level? Are you playing?
I'm at the second level. I'm in the rarefied. They're
sleeping there overnight.
The middle court, exactly, you guys. The middle court is where it all happens. That's where the Kent Bensons, the Scott Mays, the ex-legends that live in Bloomington still, very few of them leave, are playing. And so it was hard to get to that level. And when I got to that level, there was some respect. Like, okay, this guy, they don't know the West Coast Conference in Indiana at this era. I can't say I played at University of San Francisco. It has a storied past, but these guys are playing in the Big Ten for national championships every year. So that didn't mean much to them. I had to show them, that I had what it took. And so I run into Dean Garrett, who played at City College of San Francisco, who was the center for the national championship Indiana team in '87. Dean knew me from University of San Francisco. He recognized me. He's coming out of a mini mart on 10th Avenue right outside my dorm. I'm like, Dean, what's up, man? He totally gives me the cold shoulder. He's like, thinks I'm a fan, Those guys are like gods back there. I was like, Dean, no, it's me, man. Mike Delosio, man. I played at USF. What are you guys running? What are you guys doing? I'm trying to get some, doing some reconnaissance. And he says, man, you left San Francisco. Are you crazy? You're not playing here, man. It's not going to happen. What do you? I'm sorry, And I said, hey, can you get me into Assembly Hall? And Dean says, there is a back door where the trucks come in to pick up the laundry. When it lifts, come in. Because you can't get through the doors, you guys. All the student managers, there's 20 of them, control the floor so no one, because the fans want to come in and watch. So I could not get in that way. Dean was right. So I get in and I pretend I'm a towel boy. I'm a student manager on the sidelines as they're playing. This is September and it's just pickup ball. This is the end of September. So I get on the court. They finally, half the players go to the weight room, other half, and now the student managers get to play with Hoosier, the Indiana basketball players. So I get out there. They think I'm a student manager, and I'm starting to play. But Ron Felling knows me, like, that SOB, Delosio's back here. How did he get in
won't
here?
Go away.
Whack-a-mole.
So I'm starting to play, and Felling's watching me, and after I play, he's like, "You got some vinegar, kid." He's got these great colloquial Indiana sayings like, "You're pissing vinegar,
P&B,
kid." So I got my eye on you, and I said, "Thanks, coach. It would mean so much. Just can I keep coming back to practice?" So he said, I don't know how you got here, but I'm not going to say anything. If you can just keep showing up, just keep showing up.
So are you scoring in these games?
Yeah,
Or
so
are
I'm
you, are
shooting.
you taking charges? How are you standing out to the coaches? Like,
It's the shooting. Nothing
Okay.
else matters.
You're making baskets.
At that level, the other managers, student managers, are as good as defense as I am. Some of them are 6'6". Some of them were high school all-league players that are now managers on this team. So they're really good. And I'm not shining in that way, but I can shoot. And again, the three-point shot
yes.
is now in college basketball. So he sees that, and he could probably see my IQ. Like, this kid this kid eats and drinks and breathes basketball. This kid's got the moxie to, come out from San Francisco to pull this. So time's going by, though. By October 15th, if I'm not with the team, that's it. It's over.
Yeah.
And the next couple of days go by, and I'm like, Coach Felling, what's going to happen here? I need something. Can you tell me, can you talk to Coach Knight? What can you do? And he's like, son, I'm sorry. I don't know if this is going to happen. A few days later, I'm back in the field house and I'm playing, and Coach Felling brings in another recruit. And I know that the next day's practice. And I know if it doesn't, this is the 14th of October. And he says, Michael, and it was so true. His heart was in it. He's like, man, I'm so sorry. I can't do anything here. It just doesn't happen at Indiana. So it's in the evening, and I'm walking back to my dorm room, and it's raining. It's one of these fall weather patterns back there. And I'm so crushed. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I feel like such a failure. That 7-year-old dribbling the basketball. Like, how could this be my destiny? This does not make sense. I go back to my dorm room, which is a shoebox. I climb into bed with my sneakers on, everything,
Yeah.
And the next morning, this is when you had these phones in the dorm that swing around, but they're not cordless phones. And so the phone rings. It must have been 1:00 or something. I'd slept through. I was so devastated. It's Dan Dockich, the assistant basketball coach.
Wow.
Hey there, podcast fans. This is an exciting and compelling interview. I think we can all agree, and we'll get back to it in just one moment. But Dave and I just want to take a moment to recognize our sponsors. Yes, it is sponsor time. So Dave, we're very excited. We have a new sponsor this season, and you're going to tell us all about the rum, but this is rum with an H. And why the H?
Very excited to welcome our new sponsor, our good friend John Lawson, great guy. Duffy, an ex-rower at Princeton, FYI. So he's an athlete in his own right. John came to us with his company, Batiste Rum. And yes, it's Batiste, Batiste, and the rum is RHUM. Batiste Rum will change the way you think about rum. Unlike most rums that are made from molasses, Batiste is made from 100% fresh sugarcane juice grown and distilled in the fields of Marie Galante in the French Caribbean. Its third-party verified carbon-negative production process brings the rum to the cooler climate of the Bay Area for aging, proofing, and bottling. With a light, bright, and clean taste, Batiste Rum is perfect sipped straight or in any cocktail. Better ingredients, better process, better rum. Learn more at www.batisterum.com. Please drink responsibly. Duffy, John and I have shared some stories over a couple cocktails with Batiste Rum, and I can tell you it's quite good.
I look forward to trying the rum. And Dave, I do want to just mention to our younger listeners out there that the legal drinking age does remain 21. So do not take this sponsorship advertisement as permission to bend that. So PSA. All right, on to our other current sponsor, first sponsor ever. And we appreciate the ongoing support of the Nike basketball camps at San Domenico. This is from Jeff Skaggs to Skagger. He's one of our season 1 guests. Great guy, friend to the podcast, friend to both Dave and I, has just been a historian of Marin basketball and really has had an impact across the county over many, many years. But that's not why we're talking about Jeff. We're talking about the Nike preseason basketball camps at San Domenico, the first ever. That is next month, November 25 to 27. You can find them online. And then in the summer, don't forget the summer, Dave. They've been doing it for 25 years. Well, it will be 25 years in 2025. Love that symmetry. They have exceptional coaching staff with excellent coach-to-player ratio. We've seen photos from his camps, Dave, and that's absolutely correct. They do have a lot of coaches for the players they have there. and some major names like Mike Fulton, Buck Chavez, and others, Andy Johnson. Daily guest speakers. It's a beautiful, beautiful campus. I can attest to that. Both my kids went to San Domenico, one of the most idyllic places in Marin County. Just feel like you're going away to another world. So dining hall, pool, facilities, and they limit it to no more than 90 campers per week. So it doesn't feel at all packed or stretched. And there's not a lot of time on outdoor courts shooting around like you might see at other camps. And they often sell out. So if you're interested, go take a look today and get your kid over there. I think in particular for younger players in, the grade school age group, this is a great opportunity. So thank you, Jeff Skaggs and the Nike San Domenico basketball camp.
My daughter Addie attended last summer and absolutely loved it. Great coaches, great vibe, great energy. The kids really learn. It's an awesome camp, and we really appreciate Coach Skaggs supporting the podcast, but also appreciate everything that he's done for Marin basketball and teaching the game to kids.
Yep. So we're going a little extended on our sponsorship on this episode, Dave, because we are looking for additional sponsors, and we want to review the sponsorship categories, the same that we had last year. So you can find them on our website, or you can just email us at the Run TMC Podcast at gmail.com. What's the layup, Dave? Tell us about the layup.
So the layup, we have the sponsors mentioned, at the beginning or in the middle or the end of each episode. The logo is posted on our Run TMC website, and we tag you in all of our social media posts. As Duffy has mentioned, I'm grammable. I'm quite a gram guy. So I'm on the gram and Facebook and everything. So, and most importantly, Duffy, you get a complimentary Run TMC t-shirt. I just got a text from our friend Brock Winter a couple days ago saying, man, this t-shirt is awesome. How can I get one for my wife? So people like the t-shirts. So the layup is kind of the intro option that we have.
Yep. Okay. And speaking of layups, you and I both missed a few layups when we played hoops together at the Marin YMCA on Friday. So we're doing mic and drill, you and I, today, when we get together today to shoot around.
I'm very annoyed by that. Yes.
Mid-range. So the sponsor is mentioned at the beginning and end of each episode. The logo is posted on the podcast website and tagged with all the grammable material. In addition, there's a 15-second ad read by host at the beginning of each podcast or in the mid-roll like this if you prefer. You can also have us write the ad for you, or sometimes we've called on our intern Chatty G to write ads for us. So let us know if you'd like to do that. And of course, you get the Run TMT as well. And then we go deeper.
Beyond the arc, the mid-range jumper plus a 30-second ad to be read by the hosts at either the beginning or the end of each podcast, or two 15-second reads. Option of the ad content be written by your trusty hosts here. Duffy would never dream of using ChatGPT to write that content. Sponsors also receive personalized social media posts weekly between, November and March, the basketball season. But so either you can write your own copy or you can have us do it, and you get a t-shirt. So this is just more of a fulsome sponsorship.
And the last thing I'll mention, Dave, is we do have some banners that have been made, and we can make more of them. They are pretty cool looking. And what we can do, if you're interested as a sponsor, the banner has our logo. It's got a basketball going through a net. It's got a swish on it in the right upper hand corner. It could also have your logo down in the right lower corner. That's an option. So think about it. Thank you to last season's sponsors, and we look forward to bringing on more sponsors this season. We do apologize for this rather long mid-roll. We won't do this every episode, but because it's season one and we're really gearing up, we had to sell the sponsorship, Dave. We just had to do it.
You mean episode 1 of season 2, but still, that's okay.
Oh, what
that's
did I say?
Player control. You said season 1. It's okay. We still love you, Duffy.
Okay. Oh, all right. Yeah. Too much sponsor time.
That's right. Okay, let's get back to the interview. I want to hear the rest of this.
Okay. Yeah, please.
And so the phone rings. It must have been 1:00 or something. I'd slept through. I was so devastated. It's Dan Dockage, the assistant basketball coach. Wow. And Dockage has got a twang. Is like, Delazio. He can't say my last name. I was like, yeah. He goes, hey, this is Coach Dockage. You got 20 minutes. Get to the field house. Coach Knight wants to see you play. Whoa. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm wrestling up. I don't change my clothes. I run out of the dorm room. I'm running down to catch I'm like, the field house. Wait a minute. That's the gym with the 20 courts. Why would Coach Knight go there? That's impossible. There must be somewhere else. I get on the bus I'm just trying to ask somebody, where's the field house? And this driver on the bus there's another field house. It's attached to Assembly Hall. That's where practice must be. I'm like, dude, you got to get me there, man. You got to get me there. And he goes, I don't go, quite there, but I can get you a half mile and I'll point the direction, just run. So it's total Hoosiers. I'm on the bus talking to this dude. The passengers are waiting. I'm in my uniform. It's cold. It's really cold out. And I get to the field house. I walk in. It's a huge indoor track. And in the middle, they've constructed a basketball court. Technically, Knight's, not supposed to be watching the players play, but so I see Keith Smart, Dean Garrett, Ricky Cal, all Americans. Right. This is the first time I've seen the whole team. I see all the assistant coaches, the trainers. It's like a village in there to itself. And I can really feel the seriousness of what this means. I had not felt that before. Now I'm like, wow.
So this is it. This is your chance.
This is it. Not just this. Of course, this is my chance, but like what this means to what these guys have created, what Coach Knight has created, what Hoosier basketball means. In that moment, I get emotional thinking about it. When I started, I was on the sidelines and watching Keith Smart and Dean Garrett and Callaway and others, Steve Isle, watching them cut and move. I had never seen basketball like that. This is the first time in my life I'd watched basketball played at this level with that kind of continuity and spacing and offensive players reading the defense. There's no rules to it. It's all poetic. Talk about poetic warriors. These are poetic warriors.
Absolutely.
So Felling comes over to me and he says, son, you better not mess up or something until the cattle come home. He was talking about talking about the cattle come home and you haven't made a basket. You're going to go back to San Francisco. You guys, it didn't matter. I knew this was my destiny. I knew this. I was not afraid. This is it. Yeah. This is my moment. And I'm not being cocky. It's not about that. It's it's the 7-year-old. It's all the stuff I went through in my life to get to this one moment. And and Coach Knight walks in, and all of a sudden, I'd read the book, I'd heard about it, but I'd never been in the same room with Coach Knight. And when he comes into the room, the energy that this guy embodies is just 6'5", big dude. Yeah. There's just nothing like it. He's like a Zeus, he's like a Greek figure, out of mythology. Yeah. And a lot of people talk stuff about him. If I played for him, I would have told him off. I was like, yeah, okay.
Easy for you to say.
He's got quite a mystique. And I felt that, but I also felt like this is my moment. And it was great. It was Coach Knight who said, put that kid in. He didn't say Delosio or anything. I'm not sure he knew my name, but he said, put him in. I go in and I don't remember everything, but it's literally 5 minutes, you guys, but I know I get to take a charge in the lane. Steve Isle's 6'6", he's a high school football American quarterback, and he just runs me over. I learned this later that those players, when they saw me, they saw this outsider. They're in a battalion. Coach Knight, coached at Army. He's a West Point person. He's a military.
His nickname is the General.
He's a General Patton. That's who he modeled himself after. And so these guys have all been through boot camps for years and years. They've all gone through so much stuff. It's hard to imagine. Who's this little shit coming from San Francisco who wants to be on our team, that wants to walk on this court, who has not earned it? Yeah. So Steve Isle let me know. He came right down the center of the court. I took a charge. He stuck an elbow right into my sternum and just knocked me back and tried to intimidate me. And that was that's the way it was back then. But I got back up and it was a charge. Yeah. And Coach Felling called the charge. He came out. None of the other assistant coaches said crap, but Felling got my back and called the charge. And I said, that means something. Next play, I hit a jumper from the corner. I don't lose the ball. I'm definitely lost on offense, you all. The way they were moving without the ball was a foreign language to me. I had no concept of how to move with these guys. They were at a totally different level. But whatever happened there was enough for Coach Knight to say, you can come to practice. You're not on the team.
Wow.
So the next day is October 15th. I show up in practice. Coach gives me the student manager's gear. I don't have the regular practice gear.
Yeah.
I'm a student. I'm in these corny pants and stuff and this corny shirt. And he comes into the locker room And the guys on the team, again, they're pissed. What's this guy doing?
Yeah.
He didn't grow up in Indiana. He didn't earn this. What is he doing here? Does he have some special connection or something? I don't blame him. I didn't get it back then, but I totally got it later.
Yeah.
Coach Knight comes in there. He does a 5-minute preamble. It's the first practice of the season. They just won the national championship. I thought there'd be a lot of joy, and so it was intense in there. No, this is an Army battalion getting ready to go to war. There's not a lot of joy. There's not a lot of, we're not that loose because they know the goals that Coach Knight has for them.
Right.
We don't live in the past. That was in the 19th century that's how his mentality was, that you won the national championship. So he sends everyone else out on the court. He goes, Delosio. And I come on over. He puts his arm around me. I was, wow. And he says, and I'll never forget this. He says, son, are you sure you want to do this? And in that moment,
wow,
I got, and it wasn't as this hard ass coach. It was just as an adult telling a young man, you're about to do something. You're about to be initiated into something that's really intense. Are you sure you want to do this? Because if you're not, you've got to let me know now.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'm not saying you're on the team, but I'm going to let you practice with my team. And I said, and to be honest with you, I shook a little bit. I wasn't sure. I was like, damn. I said, yes, coach, I'm going to do this. He goes, well, do you better, because I'll ship you back to San Francisco so fast your head will spin. So I go out on the court, and Coach Knight's not even on the court yet. It's all the assistant coaches, and this is our pre-practice practice.
Okay.
For 15 minutes. We are running and moving with 6 coaches and managers every station, and we're working so hard, you guys. I was exhausted. We come back into
this is the pre-practice.
I didn't know that though. So it's a pre-practice, you guys. I don't know that go. We come back into the locker room. Coach meets us again. I'm like, thank God it's over. That was incredible. That was so intense. We're going to go to see our trainers. We're going to go lift weights. Coach comes in and says, okay, so for the next 3 hours, this is what we're going to do. And I was like, oh my God, you mean 3 more hours? So his practices were full pace, 100%. There was no stopping. This is back in the 80s. Many coaches do that today.
Yeah.
That's the norm. But back in the 80s, that was really unusual.
Amazing story. You're a great storyteller. I want to go back to one piece of the story, and maybe you know the answer to this, and maybe you don't. But you've been told that you're not going to make the team. Indiana does not do walk-ons. You go home, you sleep, with your shoes on.
Yeah.
You wake up at 1 o'clock and get the phone call. What happened over here with the coaching staff and Coach Knight to have them change their mind and call you the next day? Do you know?
Great question. I don't know. So I see Ron Felling at the field house that night, and I don't know if it was Coach Felling who saw how hurt I was, that this was like a mortal wound, you know? I mean, I cried all the way. I walked through the meadow and cried all the way home, cried myself to sleep because I was devastated. And so that's a great question, Duffy. I'm not sure. My hunch too, this says something about Coach Knight, is that so Coach Knight pretends he doesn't know what's going on. He knows everything that's going on. And I'm sure he was checking with Ron Felling. Who is this kid who's outside my door every freaking morning when I come to work? He's here all the time.
Yeah.
And I heard that he's been playing with our team. He snuck in, So I think it piqued Knight's interest that I had the moxie to do something like that. And I'm sure Felling became kind of a guardian for me. He was a bridge figure for me that helped me into the program. And then for whatever reason, and why did he have Dan Dockage call me? I don't know why Dan Dockage called me. I love that Dockage, Dockage tells me that, when I graduated and stuff like that. Remember when I called you?
Yeah.
You didn't even know who I was. And so I don't really know, Duffy, how that, or if it was some kind of divine intervention or whatever, but the universe heard it and I got to do that. And I only had a few minutes on the court and it happened. And you guys, I didn't know I was on the team. I went all the way through practice not knowing until the first game was coming up, and then Knight said, you're on the team. And I got to get out of my student manager uniform and into a real uniform.
So there's so many things. I could talk to you for 5 hours, Michael, but one of the things I love about that story is when you had that moment where okay, this is it. You got 5 minutes. I think back to you, 2 a.m.
That's it.
In the Drake gym with Lav.
That's right.
And you putting in the work, and you had put in so much effort that you knew you were prepared.
Yeah.
Right. And kind of, there's this old saying like discipline equals freedom. That's kind of a Bob Knight thing, right? His teams are so disciplined that they play free because they're so disciplined. For you, it was the preparation that you put in that gave you that confidence.
That's everything. So that the mystique of showing up in the field house and seeing the team gathered and seeing Keith Smart, who 4 months or 5 months earlier had hit the shot and the shot in the corner.
Yeah, kids Google Keith Smart, Indiana NCAA final.
Watch his shot.
Incredible shot.
Talk
Low
about
percentage shot, but it went in.
Baseline floater. It's all right.
And talk about his destiny. Keith Smart's one of my favorite people I've ever played with or known in and out of basketball. But that was Keith's destiny. And Keith had a dream. He was a JUCO player. He had a dream that moment was going to happen. So he wasn't surprised when that moment happened for him when he won the national championship at Indiana University. I wasn't surprised that I was going to do well in those 5 minutes, just because, like you said, Dave, there was no way that's impossible for me not to do well, because there are thousands of hours where nobody sees you, where you're working that hard. 6 a.m. at the Lavin camps. Like, I'm sorry, coach. I don't care. I honor your mystique in Indiana Hoosiers, but I'm here. This is my time,
So, God, I have so many questions about playing for Knight. So Bob Knight's a complicated figure, right? I mean, absolutely one of my heroes. I mean, talk about motion offense and read and react and all the things that we have really, I mean, modern basketball owes a lot to Bob Knight, right? He was the architect of that. The ultimate disciplinarian, not a touchy-feely guy. You make a mistake, he's going to let you know about it. So how did his coaching style work for you? Like, how did you respond to, and did you ever get one of the Bob Knight patented eruptions? What are you doing?
Yeah, sure. It's a little unusual for me, you all, because I'm a walk-on onto the team. And so for him, not only does he I earn my way on the team, he allows that, but he gives me a scholarship. So Coach Knight gives a scholarship to a guy who has a 1 year where I can't play and only 1 year of eligibility to play the 88-89 team season. So his assistant coaches, his recruiters, you don't do that. That's a 5-star, 4-star player that you're giving their scholarship to me. And Joby Wright, who was his assistant and recruiter, wanted to kill me. Not because, just because his job's on the line. Like, are you kidding? This, thick-legged kid who can't dribble, doesn't pass really well. How can we give him a scholarship?
Right.
So my story says a lot about Coach Knight, that he's willing to, take a chance on his program of giving. He could give that to Mr. Indiana or Mr. Illinois. He had 2 Mr. Indianas on my team my first year there. And then, Mr. Ohio, he had all these guys in there. He's giving me a scholarship. So that said a lot. And I also think, Knight was smart. It was also letting the players know, like, it's not about, I don't really care about your high school, how well you did or whatever, or you hit a national championship shot. He used to call me Delauzio, or he'd mess up my last name. This kid's balling. He's playing hard. Like, sometimes I get the most rebounds in practice, and I was the worst jumper on the team, but I had no hops. But because I did that, it was, he liked that too. It's like, hey, let's keep it humble here. You guys are all Americans out of high school, but here's a kid who's gonna, who worked for this uniform. So I see him through that lens. Guys that played for him for 5 years. So I played there 2 years. My senior year, we had 5 fifth-year players on that team. And those guys, it was just grueling to be in a battalion in a boot camp for 5 years. Even when they went to Europe, and I asked them, you guys were in Europe and Italy playing like they did at summer abroad. It wasn't no summer abroad. Those guys worked so hard. He was like, we didn't see anything. We didn't go to museums. We were balling all the time. And so even on the planes, they're watching film, or, they have their notebooks. We all had our notebooks. I bumped in, this is a side, and this is weird because it'll sound like a name drop, but I just want to emphasize this.
Go for it.
I bumped into Chris Mullen maybe 10 years ago, and we started talking, and I said, I played at Indiana. And Mullen says, I still have my red notebook from the Olympic team with Coach Knight. If you see him, would you tell him that?
Wow.
I was like, wow. And he was emotional when he said that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, But so that's the beauty of being, Coach Knight is a mad scientist and creating a program like that. And there's so much good that comes out of that. And of course, there's the shadow side to that too. And
so let's go back to, okay, you're playing, Michigan State and you guys suck and you have a bad game.
Mm-hmm. Dave, I know you're good.
How are you guys getting back on the bus? And he's like, all right, because I remember you telling a story when we talked about the Lavin camp. Late night, the coaches would get together in a dorm room and have some, ginger ales, Duffy. And we would just tell stories about basketball, and you would tell stories about, like, all right, you're not going back to your dorm. We're practicing.
Right.
Did you have those nights?
We had my first year there as a red shirt, they just won the national championship, and Coach Knight and the team had one of the worst years. They had high expectations with Keith Smart and Dean Garrett and Callaway. Callaway ends up transferring. High expectations. They're picked in the top 2 of the Big Ten. We finish in the bottom half of the Big Ten that year. We lose in the first round to Richmond Spiders. I mean, Knight, the whole thing crumbled around him.
Yeah.
And people were like, this is the worst coaching job Knight's ever had with this much talent and winning a national champ. So that you guys, I was glad I was redshirting that year because that was a rough year. But, getting to what you're saying, one of the most fun times for me was playing in Madison Square Garden my senior year. We got to play against North Carolina and Syracuse in the Garden. That was just, I loved Oakland Coliseum, but it ain't got nothing on Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
So getting to play there, and this is the 88-89 team. We ended up doing incredibly well, winning the Big Ten championship. Maybe the toughest conference in the Big Ten that year was the 88-89 Big Ten year. And we start out so bad in that season. Syracuse just kills us. Sherman Douglas is playing like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Great point guard.
Billy Owens, they're passing, passes between their legs, alley-oop dunks. We are just getting creamed by Syracuse. But Knight, this is the first time I get to play. So Knight puts me in, maybe there's 10 minutes. And there it is again. This is my moment. And my teammates, they are kind of like, still like giving me the cold shoulder, like, you don't deserve this. But I show out in those 10 minutes, and we're on national TV. It was so much fun. And even though we're down 25, for me, it's this is not garbage time. This is everything. And it was at that level. This is all you get. You better take, because I'll never get on that court again if I play poorly. But I played well. And then the next game we play against North Carolina, Dean Smith. And this is a closer game. And we still lose by 15 or something like that. But Knight takes a chance and puts me back in the game. When the game, we're down 15, there's 5 minutes left. It's not totally over.
Yeah.
Right. And I do well again. But we lose. And Syracuse was just a debacle, one of the worst losses of Coach Knight's history. And he knew we were a fragile team because Keith Smart, all the legends had graduated now.
Yeah.
And we weren't an athletic team at that point. So Knight was trying to be cautious with us so he didn't break our spirits. But what was sweet was Dean Smith comes into our locker room and he knows how hard we're having it. This is rough. And he's like, I see something in you guys. You guys came back. We were down 30 at one point. We came back to 15. And so, you stay, and this is Dean Smith. It's hard for me. I can't articulate you guys what it's like to be in the room with Dean Smith. You guys, it was amazing. And Coach Knight, obviously let him come into our room. So the guys on the team were like, thank God, maybe it's going to be okay. Our flight back to Indianapolis, man, we get on the plane. We're all feeling good. Like, it's going to be okay. We came back from 30. We only lost by 15 and we're on the plane. It's the Indiana University plane.
Yeah.
20-seater propellers, whatever. And I'm kind of like just taking stock of like, oh my God, I got to play in the Garden. All of a sudden an orange goes by my head and smashes against the wall. And I start ducking, and then bananas are flying and fruit's flying and everyone ducks. Now the guys that have been there for a long time, they've seen this so many times, but for me, this is my first time to really see this. And then Coach gets up and he starts kicking the plane door.
Because he's so pissed.
All you guys deserve to die. Everyone, we're going down. Jesus. And Joby Wright, the assistant coach, who's 6'7", 240, is trying to hold Coach. Now, this is the thing about Coach Knight. A lot of this is theatrics. A lot of this is Shakespeare.
Yeah.
only once in a while does he truly lose his temper. And I don't know if that was one of these times where to me, I'm not sure it was, but I was scared because I didn't have the context they do today. And he was trying to kick the plane door open, and the plane was starting to shuffle, and the co-pilot came back. Is like, what the hell's going?
Wow.
But Knight's a god, so you don't. Even if you're going to go down, okay, I'm going down with Coach Knight.
You're with Bobby Knight.
Yeah, where it's going to be okay. So we got home, and we went straight into the assembly hall, and we started practice. I don't know what time we got home, but it was dark, and we took the bus straight into assembly hall, and we started practicing. And if things continued that way, we would practice for weeks on end 3 times a day. At 6 a.m, at lunchtime, and then in the evening. And guys were losing so much weight. It was hard to say.
Wow.
So there's so many. I love listening to the other players because, the 50-year seniors, because they had been through so much, and they have a totally different experience of Coach Knight than I do, because I only played there 2 years, and the way I came into the team was so different from them. The pressure they had was enormous.
Well, there's this fascinating dichotomy of Knight, and Duff, I want to get to your question about it too. So there are these stories about him, and anybody can Google Bob Knight, controversy, and you'll see a massive list, right? I mean, including the Neil Reed thing, which was a very well covered story about allegedly choking him in practice. But then you see the players who played for him who they have unbelievable loyalty to him.
That's
right. And they would die for him.
That's right.
Guys like Isaiah Thomas and others who he's a father figure to them.
Right.
So there's this love, but then also some people who it just,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting. So ask your mindset, growth mindset.
Yeah, we sent you this question ahead of time. Yeah, so there's a book, Mindset, by Carol Dweck, and she compares in the book growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, and sort of in different spheres. And I believe it's chapter 1 or one of the early chapters compares a growth mindset in the coach, and her comparison is Knight versus John Wooden, and goes through a bunch of examples. And I'd just be interested in your take. And essentially, the high level, conclusion she made was Bobby Knight, put people into a fixed mindset. So you are the walk-on, you're a shooter, you're a hustle guy. That's what you are. Whereas John Wooden really tried to be a little more nuanced and see what he could get out of a particular player. And I'm sure it's not that black and white, but interested in your approach to that comparison. And then I guess as a follow-up question, I'm interested in what, as an educator, you learned from Knight that you use, and some aspects of his approach that maybe you wouldn't use.
Yeah. Well, this author's a lot smarter than me. I'd like to look at that. I always have trouble with Coach Knight when people brush in these broad strokes about him, because like Dave said, he's so complicated, you guys. It's hard to say he's this way or that way. Every time I say something about Coach Knight, there's always an undertone of irony because he does the exact opposite. So, Landon Turner was a guy that played for Coach Knight who was paralyzed in a car accident. Landon was in the locker room with us all the time, and Coach Knight helped him throughout his life. And, that's the kind of guy Coach Knight was. And he did some things that crossed the line for sure. Neil Reed's one of them.
Yeah.
But that's the trade-off. And so he's such a big figure that it's going to be very complicated to reduce him to so people thought Knight was in a box, and then he goes out and recruits Dean Garrett and Keith Smart, and wins the national championship. They didn't think that he would stay with his high school players only from the Midwest, but then he goes to California,
JUCO transfers,
gets some JUCO transfers, and where I think that maybe the box may have hindered him, that metaphor, is in the 90s with Neil Reed and Brian Evans, that team. I think so I was back in Indiana in 94, 95, the year before I go to play in Italy. I come back to finish my master's, and Knight asked me to play with the team to practice because they didn't have enough people. And I was just amazed at how good Neil Reed was. I was like, damn, you guys are having problems with this kid? This kid is incredible. And Brian Evans is a 6'9" hooper.
Shooter.
you guys, this level of basketball, it's hard to understand back in the 80s. Today, we see it all over. But back then, you guys, in the 80s and 90s, the way these guys, the IQ of Neil Reed and Brian Evans and Todd Lindemann and these other players. So I got to practice with these guys. And I remember telling Coach, he didn't like it. They had lost or something. He was so pissed off. The team was underachieving. He's like, God damn it, Delosio Lindemann, should I send his ass back somewhere? I was like, Coach, he's good. This guy can play. He just needs a little time, I mean, who is Coach Knight to ask me what the hell I think about? So you wouldn't expect that out of Coach Knight asking me, what do I think about Todd Lindemann or Neil Reed on the team? But so Coach Knight is strange in this way that he'll open up and ask advice for someone like me who I know nothing about basketball but he heard me, and it was funny because
that's all right.
Oh, Coach Knight's pissed. Coach, don't come down on me. I don't want to have an accident. Yeah, and by the way, he passed away last year.
Yeah.
And so I just want to honor him. He's an ancestor now. He's such a huge figure.
Yeah.
And like you said, all of us players have mixed feelings about him. Isaiah Thomas always says it was a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
It's hard to find one player who wouldn't say that about him. But I got lost on my
what was he like in like pregame speeches? Like, could he motivate you guys and inspire you? Was he one of those people, or was that not his thing?
That wasn't his thing. He didn't like to rely on that. Just wasn't. So other coaches that do that, I think, is fantastic.
Yeah.
He did it in practice every day. And so pregame was just watching his mind work, you guys. So we deconstructed the Illini when they were, I think,
really
the
good.
Second or third best team in the country that year.
Yeah.
Kenny Battle,
Bardo,
right?
Yeah.
I think they had the freshman of the year that year too. They were so good.
Kendall Gill,
yeah. Right? You guys are better. See, I can't remember the names, but these guys were incredible. So
you could play, I could watch.
So, but watching Coach deconstruct their team and how we're going to play them, because it's so poetic and creative. He's not a black and white thinker. He's super nuanced. Would just like give me chills sometimes to go out in the court and go, oh my God, do you believe the way he just broke this shit down?
Yeah.
How about Michigan? Like that 88-89 Big Ten championship team, we had no business playing against the Illini, Purdue, Michigan, Iowa. We had no business.
And was Michigan had like Romeo Robinson, and
that was before the Fab Five, but they had 3 NBA players on that team, and we beat them at home and away. So we were running away with the Big Ten. Coach got Coach of the Year in 1989.
Yeah.
And so, he did a brilliant job that year of coaching. Now I played with guys on the team though that I think didn't get to play at Indiana. One of my dear friends who was 6'7", who could play point guard, off guard, who's just incredible out of high school in Indiana, who had played at Purdue, could have been an All-American, but Indiana basketball with Coach Knight did not work for him. But I brought him out here to the summer league to play. He got to play against Bucky and Eddie Joe. It was great because I told him Bucky and Eddie Joe questions. He's like, I got to get out to where you played high school. I want to play against those guys. Isn't that funny that those stories, how powerful they are? But I think I'm not going to use his name, but had he and some of the other guys played at other programs, they could have. Who knows? It might be a stretch. Maybe they get a look by the NBA, but they don't get to play at Indiana because it doesn't work for their personality. So excuse me, Duffy.
I just want to go back. Coach in the locker room, he's preparing you to play against, the Fighting Illini. Mm-hmm. Is he predicting what's going to happen in the game in the sense of what adjustments they're going to make to what you're doing and how you're then going to adjust? That's amazing.
Exactly. And that's halftime and before a game or even in a huddle. So back in the 80s and early 90s, he's 3 steps ahead. And so and we had great players, but we weren't as great as the other Big Ten teams. We're not Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas, UCLA. We're not those teams athletically. But, Coach would always say the mental is the physical is 3 is to 1. And that was, that was his mantra. So that's why, he ended up doing. But I guess what I backtracked to what I was saying earlier, guys, I think by the mid 90s, things shift. Generation
the millennials, the new generations coming in. And Knight can't talk to Neil Reed and Brian Evans the way he talked to Keith Smart and Dean Garrett and Steve Alford. These guys are a different generation. I remember him telling me that. There's, I'm not going to say what he said, but, these guys are light. What's wrong with them? They're, they take it so personally. I didn't have the mindset back then to push back on that narrative that he had. But I think what I said was, Coach, we always think the generation before us is tougher than the one that is. Because I was practicing with these guys in 94, 95 before I went to Italy. And these guys were good. They're both All-Americans, Coach. But it's true, they had changed, the way of motivating them. You could motivate Quinn Buckner that way in the 70s, but you can't motivate that way. And so I think, I don't know if I say this, I'm going to get busted, but I think the times had caught up with him at that point, and he was having trouble adjusting to that new era of basketball players.
And I think that manifested itself in his ability to recruit. Right? Because when you have this parent, and it's interesting. I think one of the questions we even asked you was okay, would you want your kid to play for Coach Knight?
Right.
And that's a complicated question, right? If you're old school, if you're a football person, hell yeah, he's going to make him
if
or
you're
her
old
tougher.
School. Right.
Maybe the modern ethos is, that seems like a really negative environment. And I don't know if I want my kid to play for him.
Right. So exactly. And there's a context in culture. And so in the 70s and 80s where he's a legend and he's doing well, it fits into the Indiana mystique and the Midwest and the yeoman spirit of, rugged individual and John Wayne and stuff like that. Had Coach Knight had a little more, Jimmy Stewart or Humphrey Bogart, had a little more elasticity to that. But in that moment in time, that fit. At this moment in the 21st century, what I want, my child to play in that time, in that era, because of, and my child's a daughter, that wouldn't work. But coming from my background and what I went through and doing the layup drills with Lavin, till 3 a.m. and doing stuff like that, I'm in. I can do this. But again, there's other guys on that team who I said could have been prolific players at other programs where that doesn't work,
Absolutely. All right, we could talk another hour about Knight, but let's thank you for that perspective on him and what an incredible story about. I've heard it before, but it's so fun to hear you tell it about walking on at Indiana.
And Dave, all of my relatives, we were talking before about all my relatives in Indiana, they're going to absolutely love this story. I can't wait to send them this interview.
So anybody who's a Hoosier is going to love this one. Okay, real quick, because we're taking up way too much of your time, Michael, but give us some thoughts on playing pro ball in Italy.
Well, what was so fun about playing basketball in Italy was my grandparents are from Italy on my father's side. I always wanted to go to Italy. I would rather go to Italy and play basketball than even play, in the NBA. That's how much I knew early on I want to go to Italy. And Italy was just European basketball in the early 90s is coming on the scene. There's a lot of money over there. The Italians always spend big, on something that they think is important. And so Italy was kind of the capital of European basketball, back in the 90s. And I don't know where to start in this story. There's a lot of crazy roads and weird turns and twists in this story, but suffice it to say, I wanted to get a chance to play. So this is what happened. So I'm going after my citizenship through my grandfather so that I can play as a naturalized player. So I don't have to take up a foreign spot. Right? I'm not an import because you can have 1 or 2 imports on each team in Italy. But and I'm 6'4", their imports are the Bob McAdoo's and the Daryl Dawkins. So when I got there in 92, I got to play against those guys in the summer team. Anyways, that's another story. Chocolate Thunder. He got to dunk on me. It was so much.
So Michael Deneen wanted me to ask, right, what ex-NBA guys did you play against in Italy? So those are 2 pretty good ones.
Yeah, I was thinking today, I got to Google that, you guys. I don't remember. Yeah. There was a lot of players that were borderline NBA, played a little bit, then came over, or really good college players and came over there and played. But I think this is an important story. And now mental health's a big deal now. It's not stigma. Players are coming out about it. Yeah. I love that we're looking at more
not the player as a player, but also as a person. And for me, in 95, 96, I come back to finish my master's in counseling at Indiana, and I'm practicing with the team. And I'd started therapy. I'd never dealt with some of the stuff that happened in my life, you guys. So I did 9 months of therapy with this amazing guy. I'm practicing with Indiana and Coach Knight, and I'm balling. And one time we came out of practice and Knight says, Delicious is the best player on the team right now. That's where we are, which is kind of a dig, but also, exactly. that's where we are.
The second you graduate, I'm the greatest player in the play for.
And then Coach is asking around, how is Michael playing this way? What's going on? Like, is this the training he's doing? And I was training, okay. There's nothing special going on. The therapy, just dealing with my depression and anxiety, some of the things in my past, was like lifting 100 pounds off of my shoulders, you guys. The inner critic just went away. So I started playing really well. I got my master's degree. I wasn't going to continue. I didn't want to play basketball. I was like, done. I'm coming back to California. I want to work with youth again. An agent from Italy who I connected with earlier calls me and says, guess what? You can play as a naturalized player now. The Italians had gone on strike for 4 years against foreign naturalized players like myself. Now the strike's over. You can play. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can, want to open up this new saga in my life of playing there. And I haven't played ball really for 4 years. Yeah, I practiced with Indiana, but I wasn't in great shape. But my therapist and I, we worked out. I was like, hey, there's a door here that's open. So I go to Italy. But I haven't played in 4 years. I don't have any great game film, and there's ballers there. These guys the Italian players are good. They've got all these Eastern European players.
Were you in the
amazing.
top league? You're in the top league?
No, so I'm trying out. My first tryout is in Milan for the top team with a lot of the Italian Olympic players, and I start to practice, and their guards are 6'6", 6'7". Yeah, and I was like, this isn't going to happen. I blow my calf out in the first 15 minutes. And so that was the first league was over, and I couldn't practice anymore because I'd hurt my calf. And I was like, what is going on here? And I go back to Bologna. Bologna happens to be the capital of Italian basketball. They have these two great, Buckler, Bologna, and Fortitudo are these two great teams. And I'm in a hotel there, and they haven't, that's why I'm there. It's the summertime, and there's this great outdoor Italian basketball league, like Drake's, right? But it's outdoors. And I'm playing there, and I get on the team with all these Fortitudo players who are like legends back there. And this is where the gods come in again. I hit a last second shot, you guys, from 3/4 court outdoors. The next day in the Bologna paper is me in the paper, like D'Aloisio, they knew how to pronounce my name correctly. He threw, he makes his last second shot. I get a call from this powerful business person who says, I've just bought a team. It's a B1 team. So like in European soccer, you go up if you win, you go down if you lose. So if you're last player in A1, you go down to A2, you go down to B1. So he had a lot of money. He bought a B1 team, and he heard about this shot, and he's like, oh, Indiana. He was totally in Bobby Knight. I'm going to get Bobby Knight. So I can't even play. He tries out for the team. All I can do is shoot around the court, but he likes what he sees, and he gives me a contract.
That's where Welcome to Wrexham stole this story from another sport.
That's right.
So I played there for 4 years.
4 years. And you were helpful in getting Dave Granucci out there, right?
I remember talking to Dave. I don't know how helpful I was. I hope that the stories, like at the Lavin camps and just all of us talking about
pay it forward,
right? That all of us did, was good for that. But I must have, bumped into him, talked to him about that. So for me, the fact that I had gone through therapy and now I felt so free, you guys, I got to really play for the first time in my life. So when I'm from 27 to 33, I was serious. I was a serious player, and I really had big games, and it was just so much fun to play with that kind of freedom where I didn't have these mental health issues going on and these, ghosts kind of haunting me. Like I was free. And so I'll never regret getting to do that. And
what a great message.
Having so much fun. Yeah.
When you came back and went into teaching and counseling, did you continue to play? How long do you still play? And if you don't, when did you sort of give up the playing side of the game?
Yeah. So when I came back, Steve Lavin, he's at UCLA now. And I mean, what a testimony to him that he's even asking me. He's like, come on down here and, be the water boy, do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's get back together again, And I was like, wow, that's what a great opportunity. So I came to see him at UCLA, and he was living this mythic coaching story, going to the final 16, whatever, 4 times in a row, whatever. It was incredible. But my heart, Duffy, there was something, I don't know why, but there was something I heard, like, it's time to work with young people who come from backgrounds like I come from. That's where I need to be. Yeah. Where I love basketball, and this is such a great vehicle to teach all these life lessons. Like, it's one of the best, and it's so great for kids from tough backgrounds because it's so constructive. It's a new family that you're in, and if you've got problems with anger or whatever, this is the place you can take that. You can constructively focus that energy, which is what I got to do. One of the reasons I worked so hard, because I was so damn angry. I channeled that fire into a really constructive place, so I didn't get in trouble off the court. So then I came up to see my I was like, okay, should I go to UCLA? What do I do? And then I get this job at Skyline College, and I just knew immediately, it's like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And that was it. It's great.
Amazing.
Seemed like someone, like, once you focus on something, you're all in on that.
Yes. Once I hear that calling, that's the important thing, is listening to your calling, because there's a lot of noise in the world. And if you don't know what you're doing, the world will tell you what to do. I love that expression. I didn't make that up, but that's really true. And so I was like, this is where my heart is. This is what I want to do. I could have stayed in Italy. It was like, I'm selling my soul out here, man. If I stay to keep playing like this is not what I'm supposed to. I got to come home.
Awesome. All right. Let's go to crunch time.
Reluctantly, we're going to crunch time.
Want to.
Reluctantly.
Round 2 with Michael. Okay. Michael, toughest player you've played against, or best player you played against. Let's go Marin County first. So in Marin.
Okay, there's so many, you guys know. Like, I never played. I got maybe to play a little bit against Walt Gillespie in the summer league, but just an incredible player. But what I got, my privilege, and another figure in my life, and he doesn't even know this, but Steve Kenelbort, I get to play 2-on-2, me and Steve Lavin versus Steve Kenelbort and Jim Syatt. We're playing 2-on-2 all week during the summer, full court. And Kenelbort is just, so he's my favorite player, because he's just not flashy, so solid, such an incredible competitor.
Was on the Drake 82 team, played at Santa Clara, right?
Played at Santa Clara.
Yeah. Had a tryout, I think, with the Warriors.
Had a tryout. He blew his knee out.
Yeah.
I feel like Kenelbort had the mentality to play in the NBA, but he blew his knee out, and that was it. And that's how fragile life is. The breaks of people's lives, it can go in such a different direction if not for this or that. But playing against Kenelbort and Jim Syatt and Lav and me on the team, playing full court with those guys, we would go to USF to play. We would find any gym. We'd play outside. We'd play anywhere with those guys. And it was just a fierce competitive thing all summer with those guys. And so Kenelbort for me was great. Of course, Bucky Chavez.
Yeah.
Bucky gave me the spirit. So when I get to Indiana, and I get to have that 5 minutes, Bucky's presence is with me. I take that, because the dude's talk about a warrior. Sure. He is just a fierce warrior. And it's not for Bucky, my impression, it's not about accolades or, lots of attention. It was for the pure spirit and joy of the game. And that's what I inherited from Bucky as I move forward in my life.
It's his church. It's his religion.
That's right.
It's
he called it a sweat.
Yeah.
He'd say, Michael, you want to sweat? We're going to go sweat today.
Beautiful.
Like this indigenous, we're going to sweat. Yeah. And that's what it was for Bucky. And so I took that. There's a purity to that that's hard to keep in Division I basketball, in big time sports. It's hard to have that. But so for sure, Bucky was, and just watching Bucky D up people full court during the summer league, frustrating Kevin Johnson, or NBA players that were like, who is this dude? Whatever. And Bucky's just crushing them, just humbling them. But Bucky's not also like playing with a chip on his shoulder or pretending he's better, or he's going to go talk trash about them. Like, I'm better than Gary Payton or whatever. Like, I just love that. So those are the founders for me that come, and Steve Spencer, all those guys that, of course, who am I thinking of? I mean, I love Chris Fulton's game, watching him pass. He reminded me of Chris Mullins. Yeah. I love all those guys were just Fulton, Saya, Lav, all those guys, Spencer.
For the record, Duffy, all Drake players so far. Mm-hmm. Haven't had a non-Drake.
Oh, I just got to be, yeah. And I was only there 1 year, you guys. Right. So I can't speak for Marin County or Drake basketball. I don't have that story with them.
Yeah.
But those guys really set the bar for me. And Kenilworth didn't give me anything on the court. He never let me think. I think he wanted me to do well, but he was never going to let me get there easily. And when I got to play him at Santa Clara, so he's playing at Santa Clara and I'm on the court at USF.
Oh yeah.
And matching up with him.
That's cool.
Was a highlight for me to have that. And I remember tackling Scott Lamson at the end of the game. I got really frustrated and tackled their big power forward. And the guys were going to jump me, and Kenilworth ran over and pulled them off of me. Thank you,
I love it. Okay. Toughest player you ever played against, in your life? Best player you ever played against, or top 2 or 3?
Oh, I was trying to find his name, and I have the picture of this.
So Michael brought props. We're going to take pictures of these. He has his Indiana license plate, which is amazing.
Jay Edwards.
Jay Edwards.
Jay Edwards, we called him Cool Hand Luke.
Yeah.
Was the most talented, pure, God-given.
Played at Indiana.
So he's Mr. Indiana twice in high school basketball, wins 2 state championships in Indiana. He's a 6'5" shooter.
Yep.
But does everything and breaks every record his freshman and sophomore year that I'm there. There's so many, and of course I can't say there's one player, you guys, but that's what comes to my mind that I had the privilege to cover Jay every day in practice. That was my assignment. And
I would hang with him?
Oh, he crushed me, but I frustrated him. Every shot he got off, I nudged him or pushed him, or every screen I broke through, I made his life really hard. Jay was such a classy guy. He always, he was the one guy on the team that actually kind of accepted me, I don't know why. He just felt,
I'm sure he
felt secure in himself.
Yeah.
And he saw what I was doing every day. He saw how beaten up I was running through 3 screens to try to cover Jay Edwards. And of course, if he didn't have his own mental health issues, Jay Edwards is an NBA player.
For sure.
I think Magic Johnson tried to reach out to him at one point, tried to rehabilitate him. That's a story.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the veracity of that, but I remember hearing that because that's how good Jay Edwards was. But he only got to play 2 years. He had a car accident. He had bouts, and he talks about this himself. But he was the purest player I've ever played with. The most inspiring human being who played basketball was Keith Smart, by far. There's no one that touches Keith Smart. His grace, the way he conducted himself, to win a national championship and to still pretend that he's the low guy on the totem at Indiana his senior year when he could have just basked in that. Sure. He didn't do that for a second. He worked so hard. He didn't let the glory make him big-headed. He wasn't like that. And he accepted me. He was another guy that was like, this kid, man, this Delosio guy, man, there's something about him. So, and I got close to Keith after we graduated and stuff, and he was getting into coaching.
He had a long coaching career in the NBA, right?
He coached the Warriors for a while. He's in and out, and now I think he's in college basketball, but he was a really special person.
What one message here, just a little addendum to crunch time, but when you talk about that so you're D'ing up Jay Edwards, who's the best player on Indiana, and you're making the team better. You're the walk-on, you're the 12th guy, whatever, you're getting a couple minutes a game, but you know your role. Yeah. You're playing your ass off in practice. That's making the team better. So for teams, like for kids who are playing in high school or JV or freshman team, even if you're not getting playing time, if you're playing hard in practice, pushing the starters, you're making the team better.
That's
and
right.
The coaches see that.
And they really emphasized that at Indiana. So it wasn't something you're a second team player. It was actually like, you've got a huge job here. And we had a coach that was assigned to our team that inspired us and told us about how important this was. So our 88-89 team that wins the Big Ten championship, a lot of the starters said the hardest games they played were in practice against us because it was a dogfight in practice. It was a battle.
Yeah,
and I was on the front lines of that. Yeah, I was a terror out there in those practices. And so, that was
fantastic.
That's important.
All right, I know the answer to this. Favorite gym in Marin?
Yeah. Again, I don't have the storied history here. You all guys have. I don't really. Of course, it's Drake.
I thought I was gonna say Marin Academy,
but and I don't know Marin Academy that well. San Domenico. I got to go to San Domenico to see Mike Fulton's ceremony.
You were at our game.
That was cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, how about favorite gym you ever played in? Like any of your Big Ten?
So as a 17-year-old to play in the Oakland Coliseum, where I got to go as a kid, meant so much to, even though I laid the goose egg, Duffy, it still meant so much to me to be there. And then I was going to say Madison Square Garden was, do you guys, the New York crowd back in the 80s in Madison Square Garden was just the tradition there was so big. But really, you guys, the most fun I had was at Indiana. We would, during practice, once a week, we'd travel the state and play it. We'd have our practices at high schools.
Oh, how cool.
So you guys, we go to a local high school and 14,000 people would show up to watch a scrimmage. I would get so nervous for a practice. I was like, oh my God. You guys, we would pull in on the bus and the high school kids would circle our bus.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get out. Yeah. We had to have the police escort us into the locker room. This is, of course, they just won the national championship. So it was really big. Hoosier Mania was going nuts back then. But to see the old high school gyms, Duffy, like you were saying, that was to me so precious. That was the most fun thing.
So much history.
Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. Your favorite drill?
My favorite drill was the toughest drill I've ever done was the layup drill with Steve Lavin.
Okay. You mentioned this. So explain it.
Yeah. So this is, and you got to do it from 11 to 3
in the morning.
So you have a passer and a shooter. And one guy's at half court. He's got the ball. He's the point guard. The other guy fills the lane. And you have to make 100. So Lav dribbles the ball to the free throw line. I fill the lane. I catch it. No dribble. I catch it. I lay it up. I get my own rebound. I pass it back to Lav. I fill the other lane. I run the length of the court. I catch it. I lay it up. If you miss it, you go back to 0.
Does one guy have to make 100? Or
yes, one guy. I have to make 100. So we started with 25 because I couldn't do that. So we started like at 15. First, you have to make 15 makes in a row. Then you have to make 25. Then we got to 50. Then we got to 75. Then we got to 100. So that's the mentality I had in those 5 minutes when I was going to play in front of Coach Knight for the first time.
Let's go. Let's do it right now.
No way. Yeah.
Is there a clock on it?
No clock. But you're busting your butt. And so we had some of the other Drake guys would come in and try to do it, and they would throw up vomit, and we would get a kick out of that because it was just so brutal. It was such a mental. Lav had a heart that was like, he went to the doctor for some checkup, and the doctor's like, your heart's twice the size as it should be. It's this huge heart.
It's like the opposite of the Grinch.
Yeah, it was huge. I was like, Lav, you're cheating on me, man. This is easy for you. This was so hard. So I had, that was the hard thing, the tenacity and focus and concentration. So if you get to 50 or 60 and you miss the layup, you go back to the start. And there's so many times I broke down, you guys, and I whimpered and complained, and Lav's like, we're doing this. Do you want to play at USF? This is what we got to do.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Favorite? No, I'm gonna change this question, Duffy. So you lived many years in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
You're an Italian guy. You love Italian food, I assume.
Right.
Are there any Marin Italian restaurants that can rival the San Francisco Italian food?
My restaurant, and this is very subjective, that I love, and I don't know why I've always loved it, is D'Angelo's in downtown Mill Valley.
Love it.
Piazza D'Angelo's.
Yeah, I love it.
Because of the atmosphere and the owners, they pass it on to their kids now, or Calabrese.
Yeah.
There just has a beautiful warmth there. They have the fire in the back. The owners, when I go back in 2000, 2001 and 2, the owners would come out and talk to you and stuff. And, total Calabrese, Southern Italian, such a passion for food and community, it's a place of community. So
I love that place.
I still love the place. And the kids are taking over and they're moving it forward. So D'Angelo's is my place.
Great call. Duff, you got anything else?
Great storytelling. Thank you for your time. Inspirational. Fantastic interview. Thank you, Michael.
Oh, thank you so much, you guys. So appreciative of the opportunity to talk about these stories. I don't talk about these things. So this is like really special.
This was a special one for us. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Really great to see you. Okay.
Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin." Marin County's A-OK, from Tam to Stinson all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. The dead